The legislation would gradually hike the pay floor to $15 an hour nationwide by 2025. Then enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt tie future to growth. That is not directly tied to inflation, but it is better than nothing. What it really would do is take away a fixed-rate recurring negotiating point from both parties that have been enjoyed for over 80 years. Expertise matters. Janet Yellen worked for the Federal Reserve for 11 years. Was Fed chair during one of the big and most stable economic periods in the nation's history? She is for a $15 minimum wage. Powell, the current Fed chair, GOP appointee, has consistently refused to criticize raising the minimum wage. In arguing against minimum enthusiastic one, approximately 32 million workers would see a raise of, on average, $3,300 a year, generating over enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt $100 billion of wages, which will likely end up going mostly into consumer spending. And that's not even taking into consideration ripple effects that will result in increasing wages for skilled labor. We should also eliminate the tip minimum, which has been stuck at like $2 since 1991. Pay service workers a fair wage and charge appropriate prices for your goods and services. Really want to emphasize that the tipped minimum needs to change. Servers and bartenders where I live get the normal minimum wage, which in the county where I work is $15. That plus tip means that enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt servers and bartenders are actually doing well financially, better than some positions I've seen requiring degrees. One of the Fed's mandates is to promote enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt full employment. If they thought raising the minimum wage to $15 would have a material effect on employment, they wouldn't support it. Or in Powell's case, he would come out and be against it. Conservatives and the ultra-wealthy in America have ignored experts for decades. Enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt. Ladies' tee. Long-sleeved. Sweater and hoodie. Enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Ladies' tee. Ladies' tee. For wanting to know, my family isn't going to be homeless because we enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt can't afford rent? I don't understand why I below poverty? I'm supposed to be worried about mom and pop shops. Hell, they have more than me. Why doesn't the government do tax breaks and give stimulus money to small businesses who cannot afford higher min wage? Because right-wingers see minimum wage jobs as stepping stones for teenagers, not a trap that adults fall into and get stuck with for long periods of time. They are still stuck in the 50s, 60s mindset. Do you guys not realize the alternative to Manchin in WV is a Republican? He is literally the best case scenario you enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt can hope for. Out of a state that is that conservative. We're talking about a state that voted for Trump in 2020 by a margin of 39% and didn't have a single county vote blue. Businesses will also be making more money across the board because far fewer households will be working paycheck to paycheck. Also should see a huge jump in quality of life with lower hunger, crime levels. Manchin is a coal shill. By keeping wages low in WV, the people remain dependent on coal mines for any semblance of a state economy. I'm from WV, and my dad is a coal miner. Anytime there is even an enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt remote possibility of another industry in WV, the amount of anti-whatever it is propaganda is outrageous. Literally seen anti-farming propaganda when the state was giving out grants to miners to change careers. My wife and I run and own a restaurant and the starting wage is $15. Our most expensive full meal is $14.50. We sell a bunch of baked goods, bento-style meals for grocery enthusiastic one Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt stores, as well as in-house seating and of course takeout. But my point is a small business can handle it. My wife and I earn a decent income with the lowest wage staff earning $15.75. Dishwasher and cleaner. Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures long sleeved. Long sleeved. I could not imagine how anyone can afford rent and living costs on less. I wish we could enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt pay more, but we are covering a fat restaurant loan as well as all the overhead. We also pay $440 per full-time employee benefits that include basic insurance and some other benefits which include a 24-hour fitness membership and 1 meal per shift. Employees can upgrade their health insurance. I started my entry-level job in the US at $15 per hour in 2014. And it still wouldn't have paid for an apartment plus expenses in my area. My wife and I have been fortunate to advance in our careers, but we would have been absolutely fucked if we had to rely on the generosity of minimum enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt. Wage laws. Hopefully, this gets passed soon and readjusts expectations as to what a livable wage means. I make about $17 an hour working about 50 hours a week. Even though I can technically afford my apartment and expenses, I wouldn't actually qualify for an apartment on my own because I don't make 3 times the rent. And I live on a street where there are routinely drunk or high people freaking out. What a lot of people don't think about is that moving the minimum wage to $15 an hour moves some low-income families out of the poverty range and into making businesses pay for work instead of subsiding those enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt workers with John Q. taxpayer money. I don't know how many of those people are drawing money from the government to help feed their families, but I consider it a huge win if the bill gets passed. West Virginia is the 4th most dependent state on federal funds, and its representative has the power to block this measure for all of the states that pay the taxes that West Virginia enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt requires to be solvent. Anyway, income for the lower echelons of society has doubled, so not only do their lives improve substantially, but the economy, as well as the federal government, can see drastic improvements from the increase in consumer spending. Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures sweater. Sweater. Right. I remember reading that something like half of Walmart employees is on EBT enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt and other government assistance. If companies weren't allowed to pay people so little, these programs would cost less, even though their cost already pales in comparison to our military budget, because way fewer people would need them. Joe Manchin is just a Republican. It is shameful he thinks $11 an hour is sustainable income. Manchin thinks $88 a day for 8 hours of enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt labor is reasonable. But let's not forget that taxes are now taken out, so that $88 is now around $77 a day, which brings us to a grand total of $386 per week, $1,600 per meter, $20,000 per year. Who can live on that? Again, it's shameful Manchin thinks this a good living wage. $15 is a good starting point. It then should be adjusted annually based on inflation and other criteria. West Virginia's most populous city, Charleston, has about 50,000 population. The second biggest, Huntington, has about 45,000. As a point of reference, Columbus, enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt, Ohio, has a population of 800,000, which is roughly half the population of the entire state of West Virginia. That means this obstructing prick is holding up progress for the entire nation on behalf of his state, whose population is roughly equal to 2/3 of Chicago. The median household income in WV is $43,000, while just across the river in Ohio it's as nearly $57,000, and Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures Shirt, Pennsylvania is $61,000. If seeing those numbers wasn't enough to make you want to move out of state, seeing your senator oppose every single measure that could benefit his disproportionately underserved populace, healthcare for all, increased minimum wage, etc., should do the trick. Keep it up, Joe. Pretty soon it'll just be you and your coal-slinging buddies. And you can go back to polluting and destroying one of the most beautiful places on earth. That's what really gets to me. Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures Hoodie. When it suited them. Just look at climate change policy or drug policy. This was the Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt name of a famous early Trump-era article. And nothing encapsulates the conservative motive more. Enjoying the suffering of those they hate and enemies isn't a side benefit of reasoned positions. The positions are discarded or changed to accommodate the main point of enjoying the suffering of those they hate and enemies. But a $15 minimum wage is not just being enthusiastic. 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt held hostage by Manchin. If any of the 50 Republican senators voted for it, it would pass without Manchin. If we project an adjustment for inflation for 2025, $15 minimum wage itself will not be enough for anyone, anywhere. $15 minimum wage today is out to help people today and prevent that inflation becoming a galloping one. By salvaging the economy and increasing purchase power today. There are two basic types of studies when it comes to the minimum wage. One uses models to estimate what the impact will be in the future, and looks backward empirically at what actually happened. The 2021 CBO report on Enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt is the estimate. Like some before that keep estimating all of these job losses, while the studies that look back at what actually happens never can find all these job losses. Why am I, the lowest on the chain of command, a min wage worker, supposed to care if small businesses can't stay open? Why am I expected to struggle to survive so the small business enthusiastic 1 Abbey Vols Signatures shirt does not? What about the government? The huge corporations? Why are they not regulating these things? We've seen Amazon and Google do things to cut competition, which I don't think is allowed but still is happening. Why does the cost of everything get passed on to the consumer and the worker? No CEOs are taking pay cuts. No corporations are cutting their profits. No, they just want the consumer to pay more and their employee to do even more work for no compensation. Why is this practice allowed? Why am I the bad guy for wanting to survive? Other products.